the beauty of investing in the science behind industries is that the way it diversifies that opportunity is quite unique.
I could talk all day about the tax benefits of, someone who's newly arrived into the UK. You've got, your offshore income and gains. There's no income tax. There's no capital gains for 4 years. And you can bring all your foreign money into the UK without any problem. So in many ways, for new arrivals, the end of the non-dom regime has actually been quite favourable.
I would encourage anyone who ever listens to this to just look at Kenya in a different light, because 65% of our population is under 35 years old. And when you have a lot of unemployment, it means people become very creative.
Yeah.
In trying to be better in their lives.
Welcome to SRLV's Not Just a Number. Each episode's candid conversation focuses on personal stories, business strategies, leadership and top tips, scaling up companies, entrepreneurs, creatives, industry pioneers. Today, we're delighted to be joined by Newton Ndege. He is absolutely brilliant young entrepreneur. He is the managing director and intellectual proprietor of GNG Global Investments. He's based in Perth at the moment in Australia, so he's travelled a long way to be with us. Absolutely delighted to have him on the show. Welcome.
Thank you, Kieron. Yes.
Well, tell me a bit about yourself. Where did it all begin? So I understand you were born in Kenya and you had dreams of maybe becoming a professional footballer.
Yes, I was born and raised in Kenya.
Okay.
In 96, I studied until I finished high school in Kenya.
Yeah.
Like many young kids in Kenya, I wanted to be a professional footballer. So I joined Esprit Football Academy in Doncaster, which was an affiliate of Doncaster Rovers.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there for a while and I tried everything I could to make it as a pro. But due to various reasons, mostly just lack of proper young development, I couldn't compete with many of the kids who had grown up in a football system.
Okay.
Yeah, I moved to France and I tried at Asia.
So how old were you when you moved to France?
18.
Okay.
Yes, and then I went to Malta as well.
Okay.
Yeah, played for Valletta Football Club under 19s. But I couldn't secure a professional contract. So I decided to go to study, at which point I had to look where to go and study. My chosen area of study was law.
Okay.
Not because of anything, but I was very good in social sciences in school. And also growing up, football was something that was so prevalent with law and finance.
Yeah.
Meaning agents need to have some sort of contract law understanding.
Yeah.
And most of the global finance in sports involves a lot of legal.
So it's quite strange that football led you into law.
Yes, it is. And I like that I discovered it very young as well. That is luck in essence, because many people take a while to discover what they want to do. But when I was young, I knew if it's not sports, I will go into law. And even after getting into law, I will use my law degree at some point in future, my legal qualification to effect and affect sports in some way when I'm ready. Yeah.
Okay. And you, I guess, ended up in Australia.
Yes.
So I guess this was maybe your first interaction with the immigration and visa system in Australia, which has its challenges, as we all know.
Yes, I was supposed to go and study in America, actually. Monroe College in New Rochelle. But I was denied a visa by the Americans. Yeah. Okay. So they told me I don't have enough social ties at home.
Okay.
So that's a discretionary policy they have themselves. So that was my earliest interaction with migration policies and how they work. So I like Reddit, the app.
Okay, yes. Yeah.
I did a statistical research as to places where there's a high happiness index and people make so much money as well.
I like this. You've got a very scientific and analytical mind, a little bit like me.
Yes. And Perth, Australia was number 1 in the world, where the happiness index and wages were the highest. Now, as a student, I wanted somewhere where I could study and also make money to pay my tuition fees and to also have some sort of life. And that's how I chose to move to Perth. Yeah.
And you haven't regretted it because you've been living there a while now?
I think it's the best decision I've made in my life. I actually can affirm that. I studied at Edith Cowan University.
Okay.
I studied Bachelor of Commerce and I transitioned to a Bachelor of Laws. It was one of the best experiences of my life, simply because that challenge of taking on things yourself as a child, because I did feel like a child at the time. I was living by myself and I didn't have a strong social support network. So I had to develop very strong relationships socially and also very intimate ways to take care of yourself. And all the challenges I'd had from transitioning a dream from football to academics, it also carries its own challenges because you've almost giving up something you've dreamt for so long. In Perth, I got the chance to play in amateur sports. I played for the reserves team of UW Netherlands Football Club. And later I played for a club called Balga Soccer Club. And up until last year, I played for South Perth Football Club. So the integration of a dream that I had into my study life sort of settled that feeling of football was not necessarily supposed to be a career, but something that I genuinely enjoyed as a person. And it really made my life in Perth easier and better because that's where I met all my friends. That's where I met all my co-directors, Scott and Ian. And that's my identity basically as a person.
Excellent. And can you tell me a bit about, what is GNG? How did it start? I think you did a bit of, something related to healthcare to begin with.
Yes. So in 2019, when I started playing for UW Netherlands Football Club, Scott and Ian were also new players in the team. These are my co-founders and also co-directors. They're twins. And they stood out from everyone else, meaning because they were new, I felt solace with them. I actually could interact with them much freely than everyone else who already had social structures within the club. And Scott is an accountant by trade. And Ian was in stockbroking finance at the time, Kanako Genuity, which is now Patterson's. I was studying law as well. But at this stage, I was starting to see how Australia is a very young economy, meaning we only have a single source economy driver, which is mining.
In Western Australia?
Yes. Actually, the whole country. So I'd say mining runs the whole country. It shapes its politics. It shapes how government spends money. It shapes a lot of things in Australia. So I just started interacting with that very intimately through learning how the finance work and how the legal stuff work. Ian and I particularly were closer than I was with Scott because Scott was in a long-term relationship at the time. So I ended up spending more time with Ian. And we used to talk
single lads out on the town. Yes. Understood.
So we used to talk a lot. We'd go have a beer and we'd talk a lot about finance in Australia, etc. And I just fell in love with the legal financial principles, which were the backbone of a single source industry economy. Every decision they make were decisions which led to ultimately two things. How do they shape the policies of our country and our state, including migration, how the budgets are distributed, and also how they sell these products to the Far East, which is a very highly political and connection with China and Canada and America. And that's how I started learning this. So GNG was a firm basically that was founded to be able to invest in the science behind industries and not necessarily industries itself. To invest in industries, you need a very big balance sheet. And we didn't have that. We're just young lads who had good ideas.
So how old were you at this time?
We're about 25. Yes. So Ian went to America for a 1-year road trip with one of his best friends called Jareth. And I, at the time, was looking at how we can use these legal financial principles to get into an industry. But at the time, I was working at a law firm, which did a lot of personal injury cases. Yes. So these were many tourists who came and got into accidents and like that.
The other day, we were hanging out and we were crossing the road, and you told me off for crossing the road without looking properly. I guess you've seen a lot of traffic accident related things.
Yes. They're very simple matters, very simple things. But when it comes to things like liability, they make a huge difference as to how your conduct is assessed and what will.
My conduct was obviously lacking.
Yes. So I've just had natural affinity to always obey the rules and do things rightly. Particularly when I'm overseas and I'm not at home.
Sure.
Because I've seen it firsthand how people can get affected by simple thoughts that occurred to them. Yeah, whether by choice or criminal thoughts or etc. And at this stage, I managed to learn the healthcare framework surrounding insurances, because I was in the law. I was doing this from
because you were deep into this type of work. So you spotted that there was an issue and an opportunity for you to step in and solve the issues.
Yes. And that's how we formed our first subsidiary, which was GNG Healthcare Group. So we basically subcontract and operate contracts from insurances and the National Disability Insurance Scheme.
Okay.
And why we decided this to be our first subsidiary is because we didn't have any money and wanted to have a $0.
Yeah. You set it up with hardly any any money. Yeah.
$0 actually. It was only the $500 that Scott loaned us to register the company. And from there until today, that's been our history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. And what about, because it's at the moment it's focused in Western Australia.
Yes.
You tell me a bit about how the geography maybe shapes things, because it's quite remote, isn't it?
Western Australia, Perth in WA is the most remote city in the world. So our closest city is Jakarta, actually. So it's easier for you to get to Jakarta than it is to get to Sydney.
A lot of people don't appreciate that.
It's mind-blowing, actually. Though. So we were the most successful jurisdiction during COVID in terms of preventing the virus. And people think it's because it was luck. No, it's because the
geography.
Yes, the geography supported that we could ultimately protect ourselves. And like I stated, Australia is some people find it strange in a way that they have so many powers constitutionally. States, the devolution is very highly specialized in.
Yeah, so each state has its own legal system and politics, I suppose.
Yes, and our premier at the time, which was Mark McGowan, people call him Mac Daddy. Because he had a very aggressive approach to protecting us as a state during that period. And he locked the borders and people couldn't come in, people couldn't leave, and he protected us. But we came to understand that actually poses a big opportunity where if you're the most remote city in the world, you do have some autonomy in how you do things, and not many people know about it, not many people interact with it. And being Kenyan, definitely our government of Kenya took Australia and what it is, not for granted, but it was just a shadow jurisdiction for us. We have very strong ties that are connected in Kenya with the diaspora. So these are Kenyans who live in Australia, still at a first or second generation level, but
is there a big community in Australia?
Yes, Perth actually, Western Australia hosts the largest Kenyan community in Australia.
Okay.
And this is simply due to education, and I told you making money is easier. Yeah. So when Kenyans spot these opportunities, they always migrate to such places. And the transition from being a student to a permanent resident through work is much easier as well. So that's how we developed most of the frameworks that we have developed to do that. Now, significantly for us, 2025 is the 60th diplomatic relationship year between Kenya and Australia.
Okay.
As people normally say, in milestones, you get certain opportunities because politically, people are friendlier when you request some things, which led to us assessing how do we use our private structures and public governance to be able to create business and commercial interests out of that. Because in solving a government and a government's relation, the residual effect of that is normally commercial and business.
Yeah.
We did study how Russia did this in the UK between the 90s and the 80s with oil and all of these things. So that's very highly specialized industry. But for us, we just wanted to create a bridge between the opportunities that are in Western Australia and those that are in Kenya.
Okay. Is there something similar about the jurisdictions? Because it's
the similarities are they're similar in the sense that Western Australia is highly specialized in certain industries. That means they have such worthless IP. Worthless meaning they are worthless. If the best jurisdiction in the world have best jurisdiction in mining, it's very high. And in Kenya, we're just starting, means there's a lot of support that can come from science from Western Australia. Now, many would ask, how will you do that? Now, that's basically what we do for a living. We do create IP frameworks that we can support development of industries from a high jurisdiction, a high performance jurisdiction, to an infant jurisdiction. And I use the word infant, not rudely, but just to demonstrate how young we are in certain industries in Kenya, like healthcare, mining, and marine technology,
Okay.
and all of these things, military even. Yeah. So that's how we decided to create that bridge.
Okay.
But creating the bridge is not as easy as it sounds. It's a very challenging thing because at first we had to be cordial with the government.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to be liked and you have to show that you've assisted. So for me, I always assisted Kenyans when they had legal issues.
Okay. And I suppose Kenya maybe has a very young population,
Yes.
maybe challenges with unemployment.
Yes.
And
So-
Australia, Western Australia in particular, it needs a lot of labour to work in certain industries. And,
Yes.
this youth mobility visa they have with the UK where these, I don't know, young teenagers and young 20-somethings go over and, I don't know, pick some fruit in a farm just isn't quite right.
Yes.
And is this part of what you call Project Kazi is about?
Yes. Kazi means labor. Kazi
Okay.
means work. And
So this is your special big project that you're working on at the moment, which is
Yes.
very exciting.
and it's my favorite one to date.
Okay.
Yeah, it's something that I have it by heart
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen the challenges people and even companies go through, governments go through.
Yeah.
And our president at the moment, Honorable Dr. Ruto, decided to make youth labor mobility as one of his core government's priorities.
So you've met the president.
Yeah, I have not met him directly.
Okay.
I've met him through His Excellency Dr. Kogo, who's the ambassador.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
we've been able to interact in various forums.
Okay.
And it's a very unique experience because I do find myself very young in my career.
Hmm.
And I've grown very fast to meet these dignitaries and these leaders and these ministers. And just to get the platform to discuss.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking. You're in this big room with some very serious diplomats and ministers, and I don't know, maybe the senior executives of mining companies, maybe.
Yes.
You're still in your 20s.
Yes, I'm 29
So
now, turning
Do you
30.
ever get a bit of imposter syndrome, anything like that?
At first I did,
Yeah.
because you first feel like you're just there by chance or by luck. And then
Mhm.
suddenly you see the dependence on what you do, not dependence professionally, but they do like how you present things and they like
Mhm.
how you think and thinking different. What I
Yeah.
do like about being young and the younger population nowadays is we are creative, and
Yeah.
creative entrepreneurship is something that's being fostered a lot, particularly in Kenya. I would encourage anyone who ever listens to this to just look at Kenya in a different light, because 65% of our population is under 35 years old. And when you have a lot of unemployment, it means people become very creative in trying to be better in their lives. So Project Kazi was exactly that,
Mhm.
where I saw that if it's our government's focus to do this, we developed a legal financial framework to be able to assist youth labor mobility into Asia Pacific, not necessarily Australia.
Okay.
Our focus currently is Australia because we always have to commercialize.
You have to start with something,
To start
prove
with
it
something.
works,
Yes.
and then
So we did
Roll
develop
it
this IP with our project partners in Kenya called Jobs and Works,
okay.
and we commercialized it successfully.
Mm-hmm.
We tested it and it works. And we're at the stage of getting into understandings with various ministries in Kenya. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs through the State Department Diaspora, the Ministry of Mining through the State Department Mining, the Ministry of Education.
Yeah.
Like that. So I'm very proud of it because it's something I used my own experience of migration. I use the many governments' current experience with migration and all the protests surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to create something that goes slightly beyond what people perceive to be able to give a solution that's not only temporary, but also long-lasting to these partners. So in Australia, we do have something similar to the youth mobility visa, which is called a working holiday visa.
Okay.
But the difference is the working holiday visa gives people 88 days to work on a farm. So if you're a business and you only have someone for 88 days,
Well, you train them up for a couple of weeks, and then it's
Yes.
almost time for them to go home.
yes, so unlike the programs we've created are much more long-lasting,
Mm-hmm.
and they take about 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. We're in the process of applying for something called a labour agreement with the Commonwealth Government of Australia. Once we've finished all the development of the frameworks, this will be the last step of...
So if I go back to maybe the basics of it, it's you're helping workers, or this is the plan for the project. You're helping workers move from Kenya to Australia. And maybe work in, is it mines, agriculture?
Yes. Yeah, mining, agriculture, healthcare,
Yeah.
our current focus, and teaching in New South Wales.
Okay.
So there's a lack of teachers in New South Wales. We have schools that just don't have teachers, you know. Mining was something called capacity building, because we have the industry in Kenya is very young.
Yeah.
And in Australia, it's highly specialized. So for people who are doing projects in, many mining companies in WA do business in Africa.
Yeah.
So it creates a platform for training where people can come for 2 years and learn a certain skill. And that skill is transferred back to Kenya. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. You know, what was normally challenging for these companies is they didn't know how to just do the entire process without all the hardships that come, because there's migration that's involved. There's funding that's involved.
And the Australian migration system is one of the toughest in the world. So
I believe it is the toughest in the world. Yeah, it is the hardest.
You kind of hold the hands of these people and get them in.
Yes. So this framework actually presents a chance for people to do that by ease, which we got a lot of support from particularly mining companies who see this as the best opportunity they've ever had to show their value. Value proposition in business is something that's currently held very strongly, meaning companies have to show that their social responsibility goes beyond just profit and also taking care of people, but rather enhancing a community.
Yeah. And I suppose it's very important for you to ensure that the workers coming over from Kenya have, you know, the right employment rights, and then, you know, they're not taken advantage of.
Yes. Yeah. And it's simply beautiful. It's one of those things where you sit down and you look at it and wonder, why has someone never thought of this?
Yeah, because I guess there's a problem in one jurisdiction. You've got a young population who needs jobs, and you've got a problem in the opposite. Yeah. Well, actually, it's just across the ocean.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They have massive labor needs and an industry that needs people.
Yes. So,
and it is just across the ocean, but if I understand correctly, there's no direct flight.
There is no
Nairobi to Perth.
There is no direct flight. And when you leave the coast of Kenya, the first coast you go is to Western Australia.
Yeah.
You know, and the beauty of investing in the science behind industries is that the way it diversifies that opportunity is quite unique. So I'll give you an example. There's a consortium, Iluka and RareX, which made an application for a mining license in Kenya. That's Mrima Hill. And most of the commercial values they had are really good.
Yeah.
But to enhance the government's consideration, I did propose to Mr. James Durant, who's the CEO, that we could work together in a way that would enhance the value proposition you have to the government, because once you now start showing them that you're going to train up people, you're going to take out a lot of the labor that was left stranded once the previous license holders left.
Yeah.
It just slightly enhances that value, because you're now fitting in a lot of the current government's focus and also enhancing your application by showing that we want to work with Kenya to help it develop it, even though it's indirect. And that's how we are trying to assist them with the application. You see, now from that came stories about a direct flight, because when you have a lot of
well, you've got a lot of people moving from one place to another.
Yes.
How on earth do they get there?
Yes.
You know, you're going to have to fly there.
Yes.
Oh, wait, there's no flight.
Yes. And we had even institutions like Curtin University, which is a very specialized mining training institution, which have now come to Kenya to help with the same. See, so from such a simple idea that we had, and we found like-minded people who had the same idea, we collectively created something that now has the strongest ever value proposition from Western Australia into Kenya and vice versa. And the timing was absolutely phenomenal, because, like I stated, it's a 60th diplomatic relationship between both countries.
Yeah.
So for the first time, we have a cordial relationship between two countries who want to actually support this merger and help each other get what they want to get in the process. Yeah.
Okay. I understand you've also got another kind of secret project, not so secret, but it's called Scenes. And I suppose you've also noticed that in Australia, it's a high wage economy. There's people with disposable income.
Yes.
Kenya has absolutely amazing beaches, wildlife, that type of thing. So you were looking at tourism.
Yeah. Tourism is a very broad way of putting it. Australia has the highest net export of tourism. More than 75% of our country leaves the country to go on holiday.
Yeah.
You see, going on holiday means every young person comes to Europe. They do the same rotation, Greece, France, Spain, the UK, Scotland, and they go back home. And then there's the Bali. Bali is right next to us. Yeah. So that counts for 75%. But what East Africa, particularly in Kenya, have is the same product that Australians like, because Australians camp a lot.
Yeah.
Australians like the outdoors. Australians have beaches, very nice ones.
Yeah.
And Australians like that adventure. So what actually it lacked is the understanding of the cultural values that Kenyans have and East Africans have, which actually can be a strong point of tourism for us. So what we did, SINS was basically a subsidiary which enhances something called cognitive engagement. So the science behind it was simply, how do you cognitively improve someone's understanding of another place without directly trying to teach them about that place?
Okay.
Yeah. It's very unique. For Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple, loves Kenya. So our phone, if you say, "Hey Siri," Siri means secret in Swahili.
Is that right?
Yes.
I've learned something today.
See, now that can cognitively engage someone to see, okay, why is Siri? When you say, "Hey Siri," you're basically talking to your phone and it's secret. So that's what Siri means. That's something simple. Lion King was shot in the border between the cartoon. That landscape is actually in Kenya, some place called Samburu. All of these things have
So we're talking Pride Rock, all that. That's Kenya.
Yes. Now, with a young and very low social intelligence society like Australia, you cannot come and start bombarding them with marketing ads about moving or going to...
It's too obvious.
Too obvious, and it's too forced. So cognitive engagement just goes slightly beyond that. So we have entities which have used that negatively, to just grip someone. But when it's used positively, it has such a strong focus on how does someone understand the product beyond that. It's something, once we fully finish developing it, the Ministry of Tourism in Kenya will have to, and also the Ministry of Tourism in Perth in Australia, Western Australia, will have to look at it seriously.
Okay.
And it can be commercialized anywhere in the world. That's the uniqueness about investing in science behind industry and not necessarily industries. Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. Well, it's global, it's international, it's Australia, it's Kenya, but I also I know, because I'm working with you on this, you're thinking about moving to the UK.
Yes. Before I go there, science is amazing, but how it's packaged is even more important, because you can do all of these things and fail.
Okay.
So we thought the biggest investment we made was at the first, we had to just set ourselves right. So we had to get the right global structures to be able to commercialize most of these things. I think when we met with you, Kieron, it was really cool, because we knew what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But we know that just doing it our way was not the right way. And when Scott introduced us to you, and we saw that you guys work with creative entrepreneurs, it was a very immediate fix, because the creativity...
Wow. Glad we could help.
Yeah,
but you do need to get the structure right, don't you?
Yes.
Because if you create all these type of problems, because I know Australia's got controlled foreign company rules.
Yes.
The UK, central management and control. We've talked about this a lot. But if you get that wrong, you end up with a massive tax headache.
Yes.
And then also, where are the shareholders, directors actually living? You have to look at their, the residence rules in each jurisdiction.
Yes. And even better, Kenya and the UK have treaties which not necessarily are in Australia. So you do have to think above and beyond. And when you're inexperienced, advice is always the best way. Without being biased, because I'm in the business of advice myself, it was the best thing that ever happened to us. Because once we even commercialized Project Kazi, simply because we could demonstrate a global structure that could enhance our profitability and could also enhance management in a very good way.
So you've got to have the right companies in the right jurisdictions, with the right management.
Yes.
And I suppose when you're talking to these senior executives of, I don't know, these big companies, maybe mining companies, if you can demonstrate that you've actually thought about your structure,
yes,
I guess that goes a long way.
Yes. Last week on Friday, we met with the State Department diaspora, and everything we presented.
So where was this?
In Nairobi, in Kenya.
You were in Kenya? Okay.
Yes. So I transited through Kenya when I was coming here for this, and I had that meeting, and they were very impressed as to how we had set ourselves up and negotiated things in different jurisdictions to be able to have that. And one of the questions I was asked was, is it because of your legal experience that you managed this? And I told them, no, we just trusted advice at the right time. at the inception stage of big projects like this, you have to get advice. I think so.
Yeah, I'm glad you did come to us, because I spend a lot of time talking to clients and unpicking these structures that aren't fit for purpose, but they just add a bit here, add a bit here, just as they go along, and it's you just end up with this Frankenstein monster type of thing, and you end up having to close this down, create new. It's just a mess. So I completely agree with you. Setting up the structure right from the outset or very early on is really, really important.
Yes. There's a myth and misconception on young entrepreneurs that you have to first grow, you have to first become big, and then you set yourself up, which I think is quite wrong, because the benefits of setting yourself up at the inception stage, you can get access to things like credit, good banking, networks. You see, all the networks that you've been able to introduce me, it's just amazing that you can meet people like this and they can listen to you and they can provide solutions beyond, or even support, sometimes not even support. Just their experience gives you a lot of insights as to how or where you want to go to. And that actually is a director's biggest responsibility, to always be aware of common trends in global commerce and global finance, to be able to make the best decisions for their entity and for their board in a continuous state. And that's something that I'm very proud of, that because I've been able to guide our partners, I've been able to guide even the government in some way, our directors as well, our clients, and it's also continuous. It's a responsibility that never ends if you're a director. So all these trips coming here, they give you that insight as to, okay, if we grow this way, we can diversify in this way, or we can manage things this way. And the more you do it and the more you're present with it, you feel very, very confident in your role, because unlike many people, I was not a director before. So I'm learning this as I perform my day-to-day duties, and it's a very unique experience and opportunity as well.
Okay, excellent. Well, shall we go back to, you're thinking about a move to the UK?
Yes. So
what's the appeal?
Many things.
I can talk all day about the tax benefits of someone who's newly arrived into the UK. You've got your offshore income and gains. There's no income tax. There's no capital gains for 4 years. You're out, and you can bring all your foreign money into the UK without any problem. So, in many ways, for new arrivals, the end of the non-dom regime has actually been quite favourable.
Yes, but
it's more than that. It's not.
For me,
it's not a tax thing.
Yeah. So I was pro. After we gained our independence as Kenya, many people had different perspectives as to how they process that. So for me, I was pro-colonizations for many reasons, because I'm sat here in this room simply because of that opportunity that was opened up once Kenya got independence, and I can come to the UK. London is a very special place to me because it's the best city in the world, according to me. I feel home here, not because it's home, but I feel alive here. It's the center of finance and law in the world.
Yeah.
I would say I'm a loyal and very big Arsenal supporter, which is based.
Yeah, you are bordering on obsessed with Arsenal Football Club.
Yes,
everyone's got to have their passions.
Yes, I think having a passion and connecting yourself to your passion is a natural driver and motivator in life.
Yeah.
And when you're a boring person like me and you have not much, it's something that really helps you open up your sphere of thinking.
Yeah.
And I think London means that to me. I've seen most of the things that have happened here and the cases that have come from the UK, the common law principles that were derived in England. They're so unique and they're so cool that I was in love with London even before I ever stepped foot in this city. I would never forget.
Even on a day like this, where it's you've got a real taste of it. It's foggy, it's damp, it's quite cold.
Yes. 4th of February.
But you still love it. It's different to Kenya. It's different to Western Australia.
It's different to anywhere else in the world. 4th of February 2019 was the first time I stepped out of London. Yeah.
Okay.
The train station. I remember just going outside and I was shaking. I had goosebumps because on the one hand, people talk about heaven.
Okay.
And for me, I felt like this is my heaven. It's like heaven on earth, sort of. And it's a very unique experience that you can't share with anyone. And many times I talk to Londoners and they say it's tiring, it's busy, and it's this, but...
Yeah, we do have a lot of people talking down the UK and London at the moment, but it's nice and refreshing to hear about someone.
Yeah, many places have
take.
Many places have their own vices. I'm not saying that it's somewhere where it's blemish free. No, things happen. London has its bad things, but for me, it's something I have to do to feel that I've satisfied my life to the fullest. After getting my degree and my qualification, I think the next natural step would be to decide where to live and how to manage everything I do. And I am happy to say that I know that London is a natural next step for me.
Okay, excellent. Are there any other things that you want to especially share or talk about, perhaps in relation to GNG or Project Kazi?
No, I think I would share about my entrepreneurial journey per se.
Yeah, I understand. Maybe you've got a story about you identified yourself as an investor one time.
Yes.
Do you feel like sharing it? You don't.
Yes,
there's no pressure.
I must share this because aside from my day-to-day job, I'm still a support worker. I do disability support work, but only mental health.
Okay.
Yes, and also in criminal law, I try and learn most of the offending based on mental health.
Okay.
That's because of two things. One, growing up in boarding school, I just noticed how I come from a very strong cultural background. We have 42 tribes in Kenya.
Okay.
And they all have their own understanding about mental health.
Okay.
So when I moved to Australia and I saw that there's a very specialized industry of care, and I learned this industry. Like I told you, in the personal injury cases I did, I came to understand how mental health is important.
Yeah.
And entrepreneurs, it's the same. In professional services, it's the same. We have really high performers who struggle a lot with who they are and their identity, because someone leaves the office and they don't know who they are. But I'm a partner, I'm a lawyer, I'm successful in this. But who they actually are, some of them don't know. For me, myself, it was a very strange thing because I was doing a lot of things at the time.
Yeah,
I was a support worker, I was paralegal, I was helping a great barrister, Jonathan Davis, with criminal cases. And at the same time, I'd just started our firm.
Okay.
So when people ask me, what do you do? I sometimes didn't know how to answer. I'd be like, oh. So one time, it was Christmas, a very special person invited me for a Christmas family thing, and their family was visiting from the UK.
Okay.
And the guy asked me, he works here in KPMG, I think, or EY. And he asked me, what do you do? And that was the first ever time I said, I'm an investor, in the lead international proprietor.
Said, I am an investor.
Yes. And this sage special person and her brother, they just burst out laughing, So for the next few days, I was hurt. You just feel pain. You're like, for the first time, I was actually confident to introduce myself as an investor, and someone very close to you at the time just burst out laughing. This is someone who attended your business lounge. This is someone who you spent the most talking to about the business. And on reflection, about 2-3 months later, I just noticed that what if it's my own identity that actually leads to such a reaction? Because even myself, I wasn't confident in what I was doing. I, being very inexperienced, I thought that the output of everything you do defines who you are.
Yeah.
And I came to understand that it's not actually the output of what you do. You could succeed or fail, but the process and everything you put in is the real identity of who you are. You could try and become a professional footballer and never make it, but you did try your hardest. And you're in a professional environment. But
you can be proud that you
yes.
tried your hardest.
Yes. And that negative experience is what actually led me to having the real identity that, yes, I am the lead intellectual proprietor of each and every framework that I've done. And from that moment on, about 2 months after that, I was very confident. And I remember when I went to the Kenya High Commission office 2 months later, and people asked me what I did. I said, yes, I'm a solicitor by trade and industry, but I'm an investor in the lead intellectual proprietor, GNG Global. And I was happy. And it was such a dramatic shift. Because internally,
you believed it in
yes,
your heart.
Yes, and internally within our organization, I noticed that it was not only me who was struggling with this. My best friend and also co-director Ian was also struggling with it. But when I shared that, he started saying he feels the same and that. And out of nowhere, we started getting confidence that just came from an epiphany that I had from a very negative experience to now something that became a very important step in my life, that if someone was so close to me and knew actually all the struggles and everything I'd done would just burst out laughing as how you've introduced yourself, then I myself gave her that opportunity to laugh because I never saw myself as that. And that's what she interacted with, the fears that I had of introducing myself in a certain way. You see?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing.
No, you're very welcome. It's unique. That confidence and identity is something young entrepreneurs need to have. Because when you're creative and you do something cool, whether people can rationalize it or understand it is irrelevant. It's whether you yourself understand this. Because when you have to sell, when you have to pitch something to someone, when you have to go introduce yourself to someone, when you have to write something, and you write with that confidence that you know what you're doing and saying, people buy the confidence more than they buy the idea.
Yeah.
People buy the identity you have more than they buy what your company stands for, but whether you can represent it properly.
Yeah, exactly. They don't buy a nice logo, do they? All these organizations, they're people.
Yes.
People want to do business with other good people.
Yes. And it's been a very settling last year. 2024 and 2025 have been good because I've done things with confidence. I've done things with the insight of knowing that I'm not doing it to succeed necessarily. I'm doing it because I believe it can work and it will work. And every challenge we face, you just go slightly above the challenge and see, okay, how can I improve and how can I improve that? So the output of it, yes, it's important. Commercially, it's important to perform your duties, but it's not important for your identity as what you're doing. Yeah.
What about, have you got any, I don't know if we haven't talked about this before, but have you got any ambitions to maybe get involved in politics in the future?
Politics is something
because you're interacting with,
yes,
in the political sphere now.
And my dad is a politician as well. So I hated politics actually because my dad was a politician, and it sounds strange, but I knew him as someone so timid growing up, and suddenly around 2008, or maybe 2009 up until 2014, he was very into politics. So it was strange seeing him social and seeing him on the news and hearing him on radio. I just didn't like that feeling of he was important beyond us,
Yeah.
But now I've come to
understand. So it's important to the whole nation, not just, just the family.
It's a tradition in Kenya where every December you go to like the village where your parents come from.
Okay.
But us, we used to have more than 100,000 people wanting to speak to my father and lining up to tell them their issues and etc. And I just hated it. I hated every single bit of it. But then now that I'm interacting in politics, and we do have a very high political climate in Kenya at the moment, because people do not like some of the government things that are going on. And just because there's easy access to information, everyone can develop their own perspective quicker than we did in the past.
Yeah.
Politics has one unique thing. It's the easiest way to drive change. And it's the easiest way to actually inform people beyond what they can't comprehend. Because when you're internal and you understand how things work in terms of governance and you can manage this outside, it's something that you have to cherish in a way. See, but so I'm in a fork at the moment where I do, and I like diplomacy.
Yeah.
But how do you transform your life from professional services, investment like this to politics?
It's very different.
It's very different.
But at the moment, you're kind of straddling both worlds.
I am, yes. Now, can I do both? Can I do private and public? I don't know. Can I somehow get into politics? I really don't know. But because I have the opportunity within at the moment, I'm actually enjoying learning it. I'm enjoying assisting some of the politicians, because some of our ministers in Kenya are also politicians by nature. Some even people who are diplomats just come from a political background. So how they outlay themselves is more political than it is actually diplomatic. So navigating those lines between political and public governance and learning it from a private perspective is something that has actually led me to start thinking, is it a life that I would actually envision one day? And if so, where, how, when? That's why I've been asking everyone I've met the last 3 weeks, I've asked them this question. If you had the chance to go into politics and public governance, would you actually take it, and how will you do it? And I've gotten very varying answers to that. But the best one...
You asked me the other day, I said, no way. Too many skeletons in the closet.
Yes, there's too many skeletons in the closet, yes. But
you're squeaky clean, so all good.
Yes, if you know yourself. So me, I know myself. When I commit to something, I would do it to the best of my ability. And I do like being the genesis of something. So politics...
But you have the entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes,
But you also want to make a difference.
I want to make a difference entrepreneurially, but also politically.
Yeah.
So how the entrepreneurship merges with the politics and vice versa is a question to be answered in a very near future, actually.
Okay. Well, keep our fingers crossed and our ears peeled.
Yes, and I will obviously update you. So,
okay. Well, sounds exciting.
it is exciting, yeah. And Australia, we don't have real politics per se. Like our politics are very young. So now that I'm in Australia is actually a good place to learn politics because it's a very underdeveloped political climate, you know. So, and Kenya is very high actually. Everything in our country revolves around politics. You know, it takes about 60% of airtime. Like, it's like Europe.
Okay.
Politics is a big thing, but in our Kenya, it's just so highly specialized. I believe every politician in Kenya is an expert in politics. An expert, because how they navigate it, I don't understand it. But how they do it is near brilliant. You know, people look at it negatively because of all the things that come out negatively. But the way these guys navigate on a day-to-day basis, because it is a very tiring thing.
Yeah.
You know, they're just experts at it. Yeah.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you, because you're always very smartly dressed, but a lot of the time you're living out of a suitcase. You're flying, you're in Africa one week, you're in Europe the next, you're back in Australia.
Yeah.
How do you do it?
How?
Or maybe you've never thought about it.
People ask me this actually. Yeah, this year I've been living out of a suitcase. So from the different projects we do,
and sometimes you're not even in Western Australia, and getting across Australia is a mission.
For example, when I live here, I'm going to Sydney, not necessarily Perth.
Yeah,
because we're doing this sharing. There's a sharing contractors that they need sharing hands. So I'm going to Perth to discuss and negotiate these contracts. Living out of a suitcase in GNG Global Investments, the word global was significant to us.
Yeah,
because I did want to have a global outreach with our business. And most of the projects I didn't want to be fearful of just sticking to one jurisdiction. But I told you, the beauty of science, it can be done anywhere.
Yeah.
Western Australia may be difficult, but it may be easier in New South Wales. In Kenya, it may be easy to get a bank in Kenya to commercialize you than it is in Western Australia. So people who interact with my social media, they just think I'm gallivanting around the world doing it because I post a lot of football and dressing and etc. However, there is a lot of hard work that goes behind that because it's meetings.
No, you're one of the hardest working people I know.
Thank you. And I'm really ready to settle down and spend about the longest time I can in one place. So, and Australia is really far as well. That. So the other challenging thing is how far it is. Coming back to your question about London, centralization is key when you want to do global business.
Yeah, I suppose you've got access to East Africa, you've got
everywhere.
Access to the Middle East, you've got the access to the Americas, you've got access sort of to Australia.
Yes. So that's why I spend so much time traveling, because like banking is here and advice is here. Some of the projects we're doing are there, and it's just all over the place. And it's tiring, it's challenging. I'm happy that domestically and socially, I'm in a good space to do this.
Yeah.
But I know in future, if that changes, it poses a real challenge to how you manage it, as opposed to how you want to do yourself. So back to the centralization question, being centralized was one of my biggest short-term goals, is to stay somewhere where I can do all of these things with ease, not a 20-hour flight every 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's tough. And I don't know if you want to talk about anything quickly, but I was thinking maybe you could give us maybe 1, 2, 3 key tips for young entrepreneurs.
Young entrepreneurs, be bold, be very bold.
Yeah, I think that's number one. Be bold.
Very bold. Yeah, creativity means you have to really, really have the heart to stand by yourself, to stand by what you believe in, independent of what you face and whatever challenges you. The second thing I say is trust. I told you this the first time we met. Yeah. Just trust advice, because there are people who've done it and there are people who will do it better than you will ever do it. So you have to trust. And the last and most importantly is be present. Presence is such an underrated thing in life, particularly in how you outlay yourself mentally, socially, and everything. By presence, you are able to make decisions better. You can creatively think, critically think, and you can be able to apply yourself better just by being present. Where when you have problems, when you have success, when you have plans and when you have futures, and when you're present amongst all of those things, and your passion as well. When you're present amongst all of things, you'll be able to actually apply yourself much better than when you're not present, when you just people call it gliding, when you're just gliding through life. Then you spend 5 years, you'll become the partner that you want, you'll become this, but you'll not be able to actually articulate what made you that good, or why were you so bad at this? Or why do people like you in that way? Or what do I need to improve on? Presence is the third and most important thing that I've learned the last 2 years.
So we're saying, be bold, trust your advisors, and be present.
Yes.
I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here. It's, I know you live out of your suitcase, but thank you so much for, your stopping by on your trip between Kenya, seeing Arsenal Football Club, and, back to Perth and Sydney.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome, Kieron. Thank you.
Great to see you.
You too.
Yeah, thank you.